Have you ever met someone in their 80s or 90s who is sharp as a tack, who remembers names, tells stories, and still lives independently? And have you ever met someone who is only 65, who seems to have lost their edge, who forgets things, struggles with words, and seems to be fading? What is the difference between these two people? Here is the truth that most people have no idea about. Some people never get dementia. Not because they have perfect genetics, not because they don't have the brain pathology, but because they have something called cognitive reserve. And the research shows that you can build this reserve at any age. For decades, scientists believed that dementia was simply a matter of brain deterioration, plaques and tangles, shrinking hippocampus, dying neurons. And yes, those things matter. But here is what the research has revealed. The correlation between brain pathology and dementia symptoms is surprisingly weak. A study published in Current Alzheimer Research found that neuropathological lesions account for only about a quarter of the variance in cognition among older adults. That means 75% of why some people get dementia symptoms and others don't is explained by something else. Something that is not brain tissue. Something that is built over a lifetime. Let me show you what I mean. I want to tell you about the Nun Study. This is one of the most important studies in the history of dementia research. In the late 1980s, Dr. David Snowden started a study of 678 Catholic nuns who agreed to donate their brains for research after they died. These were women who had lived remarkably similar lives. Same diet, same lifestyle, same social structure, but their cognitive outcomes were wildly different. Some nuns lived into their 90s and 100s with perfect memory. Others developed severe dementia, and when the researchers examined their brains after death, they found something shocking. Many of the nuns who had the worst brain pathology had no symptoms during life. Their brains were ravaged by Alzheimer's plaques and tangles, but they never showed any signs of dementia. How is this possible? The answer is cognitive reserve. These nuns had built up such a strong reserve of neural connections that their brains could compensate for the physical damage. Even as their brain tissue was degenerating, they were making new roadways and bridges. They were rerouting, they were adapting. Their brains were plastic. And here is the part that will stop you. The researchers found that the nuns who used more positive language in their diaries had a lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. The nuns who were more optimistic, more engaged, more socially connected, they were protected. Not just their minds. Their brains were physically different. Think about what this means. You can have the pathology of Alzheimer's disease in your brain and never show a single symptom. The disease can be there, but your brain can compensate. It can build alternative pathways. It can reroute information. It can keep you functional despite the damage. This is why cognitive reserve is the most important concept in brain aging that most people have never heard of. So what is cognitive reserve? Cognitive reserve is your brain's ability to maintain function despite damage. It is the neural scaffolding you build over a lifetime. It is the network of connections, the alternative pathways, the redundancy that allows your brain to keep working even when parts of it are failing. A number of factors contribute to this reserve. Education is one of the biggest. Studies show that individuals with higher levels of education perform better on tests of cognitive function and exhibit less decline over time compared to those with lower education levels. But it's not just formal education. It's ongoing learning. It's staying mentally engaged. It's challenging your brain. Occupational experience matters too. People in occupations involving higher mental demands show better cognitive performance compared to those engaged in lower mental occupational demands. Your job can build cognitive reserve, or it can fail to. Leisure activities are powerful. People who participate in cognitive activities, like reading, playing crosswords, and engaging with their environment exhibit the least decline in cognitive function compared to those with a disengaged lifestyle. Participation in leisure activities is also associated with a reduced risk of dementia. Social engagement is critical. The nuns lived in community. They had social challenges. They had fights with their fellow sisters. They played games. They had chores and responsibilities. They were doing stuff. And all of that built cognitive reserve. Nothing is as hard for the brain as other people, because you never know what they're going to say or do. But here is where it gets even more interesting. There is a specific brain region that seems to be the key to cognitive reserve and resilience. It's called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, and it is the brain's hub of willpower, tenacity, and the will to live. Research by Dr. Andrew Huberman has highlighted the connection between the anterior mid-cingulate cortex and the ability to overcome challenges. This brain area is the seat of what we call willpower. It is linked to concepts like tenacity and grit. And here is the fascinating part. This area gets larger when people do things they don't want to do, not things they enjoy, not things that are easy, things that are hard, things that they resist. When a person consistently pushes through discomfort and does something challenging that they don't want to do, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex physically grows. Dr. Huberman explains it this way. If you love ice baths and you go from 1 minute to 10 minutes, your anterior mid-cingulate cortex did not grow. But if you hate the cold water, if you're afraid of it and you get in anyway, then it grows. The key is doing things you do not want to do. And here is what makes this particularly relevant to dementia. Studies show that this brain area is larger in people who live a very long time. It is larger in Super-Agers, people who maintain exceptional cognitive function well into their 80s and 90s. These individuals have a hyperactive anterior mid-cingulate cortex. They have more willpower, more tenacity, more grit, and they are protected from dementia. The neuroscientist highlighted this connection. The part of the brain that deals with willpower is hyperactive even in their senior years. There must be a connection between brain activity and the will to live. This is not just theory. A study from the University of Barcelona found that early and sustained cognitive stimulation can help preserve brain connectivity and memory in Alzheimer's disease, even in advanced stages of the pathology. The cognitively trained animals preserved memory and functional connectivity between key brain regions involved in memory. The study concluded that cognitive engagement in the early stages of life can have lasting protective effects on brain function. Another study from the University of Oxford, the Prevent Dementia study, found that modifiable stimulating activities showed the strongest positive association with cognition. Depressive symptoms and traumatic brain injury were the top 2 modifiable risk factors negatively associated with cognition. The researchers concluded that early, cost-effective, and multifactorial dementia prevention interventions that target both modifiable risk reduction and boosting of cognitive reserve from midlife have strong potential. The key insight is this: the anterior mid-cingulate cortex is plastic. It can be improved or it can be reversed, depending on the situation. When we don't engage in challenges, it doesn't atrophy, but it undergoes a downshift in activation. It slows down. This doesn't cause degeneration, but it negatively affects it. On the other hand, doing hard things makes it grow. Consistently engaging in challenging activities that you don't want to do builds this brain area, and a larger anterior mid-cingulate cortex is associated with cognitive resilience, longevity, and protection from dementia. So how do you build cognitive reserve and strengthen your anterior mid-cingulate cortex? Here are the 5 most powerful interventions. Number 1. Do hard things every day. This is the most important. You need to push yourself. Do something you don't want to do, not something that's easy, not something you enjoy, something that's hard, something you resist. It could be exercise. It could be a difficult mental task. It could be having a hard conversation. It could be learning something new. The key is the resistance. Number 2. Never stop learning. Education is one of the biggest predictors of cognitive reserve. But it's not just formal education, it's lifelong learning. Read books, take courses, learn a new language, learn a new skill. Keep challenging your brain. The research shows that bilingual individuals often experience a delayed onset of dementia symptoms compared to monolinguals. Learning a language builds reserve. Number 3. Stay socially engaged. The nuns in the study lived in community. They had social connections. They had responsibilities. They had conflict and resolution. Social interaction is one of the most demanding things for your brain. Nothing is as hard for the brain as other people. Stay connected. Join groups. Volunteer. Have meaningful conversations. Number 4. Stay physically active. Exercise is critical for brain health. It increases blood flow, reduces inflammation, and promotes neuroplasticity. The research shows that physical activity and cognitive stimulation share biological mechanisms, particularly in the promotion of neurotrophic factors and reduction of inflammation and oxidative stress. Physical and cognitive activity work together. Number 5. Stay optimistic. The nuns who used more positive language in their diaries had a lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. Optimism matters. How you see the world affects your brain health. Practice gratitude. Look for the good. It builds resilience. Now I want to address the most common question people have about this. What if I'm already in my 60s or 70s? Is it too late to build cognitive reserve? The answer is no. The research shows that modifiable stimulating activities show the strongest positive association with cognition. It's never too late. The nuns who participated in the study were older adults. They continued to build reserve late in life. The brain is plastic at every age. It can change. It can grow. It can adapt. But you need to start. You need to do the work. You need to challenge yourself. You need to push through discomfort. You need to do hard things. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is built through consistent effort, not through occasional effort, not through easy effort. Consistent, difficult, resistance-based effort. Think about this. The people who never get dementia are not lucky. They have built cognitive reserve over a lifetime. They have pushed themselves. They have stayed engaged. They have stayed social. They have stayed optimistic. And their brains have adapted. Your brain has been waiting for this. It is plastic. It can change. It can build new pathways. It can compensate for damage. It can keep you functional, even if pathology is there. But you need to give it the input it needs. Start today. Do something hard. Learn something new. Connect with someone. Move your body. Practice optimism. I want to tell you about a 2020 study of Spanish nuns and women from the general population. The researchers found that nuns may have a significantly reduced risk of cognitive decline compared to the general population. 20.67% in nuns versus 36.63% in the general population. This lower risk was partly attributed to their higher cognitive reserve and long-time engagement in intellectually stimulating activities. Additionally, nuns tend to adopt healthy lifestyles. They are not isolated because they live in community. They obtained lower scores for risk factors such as depression, anticholinergic burden, and benzodiazepine consumption. The conclusion was clear. A healthy lifestyle combined with intellectually stimulating activities is related to preserved cognitive function. This is not just about aging. It's about how you live your life. Every day, every choice, every challenge you take on, every hard thing you do. It all builds cognitive reserve. It all strengthens your anterior mid-cingulate cortex. It all protects your brain. Let me quickly recap the real reason some people never get dementia. It's not genetics. It's not luck. It's cognitive reserve. It's the neural scaffolding you build over a lifetime. It's the anterior mid-cingulate cortex growing through hard things. It's education, occupation, leisure, social engagement, and optimism. The nuns who had brain pathology but no symptoms proved that you can have the disease but not the dementia. The brain can compensate. It can reroute. It can adapt, but only if you have built the reserve. The research from the University of Barcelona showed that cognitive engagement in early life can have lasting protective effects on brain function. The University of Oxford study showed that modifiable stimulating activities have the strongest positive association with cognition. The Nun Study showed that optimism and social engagement are protective. Your brain is waiting. It is plastic. It can change at any age. But you need to give it the right input. Hard things, new learning, social connection, physical activity, optimism start today. One hard thing, one new learning, one meaningful connection, one act of optimism. Build your reserve. Protect your brain. Never get dementia. If this video changed how you see brain aging, hit like so. Winds of thought can bring you more science of the body you inhabit. And comment below. What hard thing will you do today? What new skill will you learn? Who will you connect with? Share your plan. Your brain has been waiting. Start today. Says this video to someone who needs to hear it. Your parent who is worried about dementia. Your friend who thinks it's inevitable. Your colleague who is coasting through retirement. Their brains are waiting. They just need to build reserve. You don't need perfect genes. You need cognitive reserve. You need to do hard things. Your brain has been waiting. Start today.